We all know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Trying to build a really strong team, especially when you're maybe stepping into a new area, a new industry,
Oh, absolutely. It's tough. How do you spot the people who are going to succeed?
especially when they don't have that specific industry background. It's a huge question.
It really is. The hiring, the training, it all becomes so critical when someone's starting from, well, square one.
Yeah.
What do you even look for?
Well, today we've actually got a great window into this. We have an audio recording of a 30-day review. It's between Mark Hurd from Rockford Siding and Windows and a new sales rep, Nathan Lips.
Okay.
And the really key thing here, Nathan was completely new. Zero experience in the roofing industry before this.
Ah, so this is a perfect case study then. Our mission for this deep dive is basically to pull apart that conversation.
Exactly. We want to understand Rockford's hiring, their training process, all through Nathan's first month and, his manager Mark's feedback. See it in action.
Seems fascinating. So we're really getting insight from both sides, the trainee and the manager.
Precisely. And Nathan's entry point was pretty interesting, too. A 4-step interview process.
4 steps. Okay, lay it out.
Right. So online application first, then a one-way video interview, where you record answers, then a proper Zoom interview, face-to-face digitally, and finally, an in-person meeting.
That's quite thorough. Allows them to see different facets of the candidate, I imagine. Build a picture slowly.
Yeah, but here's the kicker, and this might resonate with you thinking about your own hiring. Nathan said he was really surprised by the initial questions.
How so?
They were super basic, apparently, focused on how he spends his free time, his strengths, his values, digging into his character, his work ethic.
Not about roofing.
Not a single question about roofing, he said. And because he had no experience, he actually saw this as a big plus, an opportunity.
Okay, that tells you a lot right there. They're strategically choosing not to screen for industry knowledge up front.
Seems like it.
It suggests they believe they can teach the roofing stuff. What they're looking for is that foundation, the work ethic, the integrity.
The will and value, as they seem to call it.
Exactly. Qualities that often predict success better than specific skills, especially long-term. Skills you can build.
It makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we maybe overlook great potential because someone doesn't tick the immediate skills box?
It's a really important point. So this focus was there right from the beginning. Find people with the right stuff inside, not just the right resume points.
Okay, let's dig into that first part then. The interview process itself and how Nathan felt about it. He obviously liked those open-ended questions.
Well, yeah, it let him talk about himself, his drive. But think about the company's perspective. Those basic questions are actually quite revealing.
How do you mean?
They're designed to uncover motivation, resilience, core principles, things that matter in any challenging job, especially sales in a new field. They're hunting for driven people.
And the lack of roofing questions early on really underlines that, doesn't it?
Totally. It signals, we can teach you the product. We need to know if you have the engine. Are you adaptable, coachable, responsible?
Yeah, you can see that. Have you seen that play out yourself? People with strong fundamentals excelling even without prior expertise.
Oh, definitely. It happens all the time. That core drive makes a huge difference.
Nathan even used the phrase. He felt they were looking for the right players, not just, salespeople.
And did that feeling hold up once he got inside?
Apparently, yes.
Yes.
He said the team culture really matched that initial impression. Very helpful, very supportive colleagues.
See, that's crucial. When the interview vibe matches the reality on the ground, that builds trust fast. It makes people feel they made the right choice.
It's a good point. For you listening, it really highlights making sure your hiring pitch actually reflects what it's like to work there day to day.
Authenticity matters. Okay, so he gets through the interviews, feels good about the culture, then comes the training.
Right, and he hits a common early hurdle. He mentions just handing out flyers, like being a mailman, wasn't really cutting it.
Yeah, that's passive activity versus active engagement. Just dropping paper. It rarely leads anywhere meaningful. Low return on effort.
He quickly figured out he needed to actually build a presence, be seen, follow up, not just blitz an area with paper.
It's about connection, isn't it? Showing up, showing interest. The follow-up is where the conversations start, where trust begins. Think about your own field. That first touch point is rarely the whole story.
And here's where you see that adaptability they likely hired him for. When the flyers weren't working, he didn't just keep doing it. He adjusted.
What did he do?
He started going back to the same streets after dropping flyers. He'd look for signs people had taken them inside, then try to knock and talk to those people.
Smart. Observing, experimenting, not just sticking blindly to a failing plan. That's that growth mindset in action. That's often the difference maker.
He also noticed something about timing. He found he was way more productive focusing his hours between 4 and 7 p.m.
Makes sense. That's when homeowners are more likely to be home from work, maybe more receptive.
Right. More meaningful conversations happen then.
That's just smart optimization, understanding your audience's rhythm. It applies everywhere, really, scheduling strategically.
But there was also this moment of, let's say, humility. He realized that sometimes his own ideas weren't working as well as the company's established training.
Okay.
He mentioned needing to stay humble and actually go back to the proven processes.
That's huge for a new hire. It shows coachability. Wanting to innovate is great, but respecting the existing playbook, especially early on, is key. It shows self-awareness.
Okay, so moving on, they're tracking his progress using KPIs, key performance indicators, and they put him up on a board.
Publicly?
Yeah. Nathan saw it initially as, accountability for him, for his coaches.
Transparency like that can be motivating.
Yeah.
And useful for feedback. The trick is making it constructive, not just judgmental. How are you using those numbers?
Well, that's the interesting part. The KPIs weren't just about sales numbers.
Oh, what else?
They tracked effort, like door knocks, but also effective communication. How well he moved customers through their process, building trust.
More holistic.
Yeah, and ultimately they framed the sale as helping people, so tracking how many people he helped.
I like that. It recognizes that a sale is the end result of a bunch of things done well. By tracking those components, you can see where someone needs help or coaching. Much richer than just a final number.
They also spent time connecting this to his income goals, using something called RSRA training and pathway hours. Sounds like their internal system.
Okay, so linking activity to earnings.
Exactly. They set clear targets, like 2 sales a week for his main goal, 3 for a stretch goal, and showed how that translates to the income he wanted.
That can be incredibly powerful. Suddenly, the tasks aren't just tasks. They're steps towards a personal financial target. Creates real agency.
Nathan said exactly that. Understanding those goals made his door-knocking feel way more focused. His time felt valuable, directly tied to his own aims.
It shifts the whole mindset, doesn't it? From just doing the job to understanding the why behind every interaction, purpose-driven work.
So let's talk about what they called a breakthrough moment. Sounds like a key conversation shifted him from just dropping flyers to really engaging people.
Yeah, that leap from passive info giver to active problem solver. That's a core transition in sales, isn't it? Understanding needs, not just pushing products.
And get this, Nathan found a little hack.
Oh, yeah.
He started watching the actual mail carrier on the street to see which houses were likely occupied based on mail delivery, made his door knocking more efficient.
Huh. That's great. Using observation, being resourceful, little things like that add up. Initiative.
But the bigger change was in his approach at the door. He stopped sort of passively hoping they'd ask for an inspection.
And started doing what instead?
He started actively guiding them, creating a bit of urgency about, understanding the health of their roof, especially after a potential storm.
Right. Taking control of the interaction, leading the homeowner, because often they do need guidance, especially if there might be damage they can't see.
He even broke it down. You sell yourself in the first 10 seconds, sell the inspection in about a minute. Then you get to the findings and advice.
Nice. A clear framework. Build rapport fast, state the immediate value, prop the inspection efficiently, then deliver the core expertise. Makes sense.
It's a good model for that initial contact in many situations, actually. Get to the point quickly, but build trust first.
Definitely.
And he did admit, even with the training, his first instinct was sometimes to just do his own thing.
That's pretty common, right? New hires often think they see a shortcut or a better way.
Yeah, sounds like it. But there's usually a reason the established process exists, especially in something like storm restoration sales.
Experience usually shapes those processes, but it takes humility to trust it sometimes.
The whole conversation seemed to stress guiding the customer, especially post-storm. People need clear steps, not just endless time to think about potential roof damage.
Absolutely. You're offering expertise and a path forward, building trust that you can solve their problem or at least accurately assess it.
Now, another tool they use is team support, specifically something called the power of the three-way call.
Okay, what's that involve?
Bringing in a more experienced team member onto a call with the homeowner helps build credibility, adds weight.
Leveraging expertise. Good strategy for newer reps. Lets the customer hear from a veteran, reinforcing the message, building confidence.
And Nathan noticed that the message was the same, whether it was him talking or the experienced person.
That's a great sign.
Yeah, it showed him he was really internalizing the company's approach, their way of talking to customers.
Consistency is key for brand trust. And it confirms Nathan's learning is on track. He's speaking the company language.
They also really drilled down on being honest and transparent.
How so? Give me an example.
Well, they talked about explaining the difference between a full retail roof cost versus just paying an insurance deductible. Making sure homeowners understood their policy wasn't, stealing from insurance by making a legitimate claim.
That's crucial. Building trust through education. Positioning themselves as advisors, not just pushing for a sale. That ethical foundation is vital for long-term relationships.
Mark Hurd, the manager, used this phrase, truth in motion.
Truth in motion.
Yeah, the idea that your actions and words, when consistently honest over time, build real belief. It's about walking the talk.
I like that. Integrity in action. Doing what you say you'll do. Being upfront. That's how trust gets built, brick by brick.
And Nathan felt this really lined up with their RSRA training program, too. Transparency, the overall business ethos, it all felt connected.
That internal consistency is powerful. When the values preached are the values practiced, it creates a really strong culture. Good for employees, good for customers.
Now, they didn't shy away from areas where Nathan could still grow. Like, initially, he had tons of door knocks, but fewer actual contacts.
Okay, so effort was there, but maybe the initial engagement needed work.
Exactly. That became an early focus area for coaching, how to turn a knock into a conversation more often.
Makes sense. A common development point for field sales. High activity is good, but effective activity is better.
But on the positive side, his conversion rate, once he did make contact, was already hitting industry averages, which is pretty impressive for 30 days in.
That is encouraging. Shows the core selling skills are developing well.
So the next step for him, they said, was focusing on generating referrals.
The gold standard. Referrals mean happy customers who trust you enough to recommend you. That's a great sign of progress.
Overall, Mark Hurd sounded really positive about Nathan's development. He basically saw him as proof that their process works if you follow it.
Validation for their hiring and training methods.
Yeah. And Mark even acknowledged those sometimes uncomfortable talks about the KPIs, the numbers.
But necessary, right?
Absolutely. He said those conversations helped Nathan refine his approach and ultimately be more effective in genuinely helping homeowners.
It underscores that feedback, even when it's tough, is a gift if it leads to growth. Using data to guide development works.
So, wrapping up this deep dive into that 30-day review, some really clear takeaways emerge, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
First, that deliberate choice to hire for character, for values, over just experience.
Huge. Second, the impact of having a really structured, process-driven training program. Don't just throw people in the deep end.
Third, using data, those KPIs, not just for judgment, but for targeted feedback and real improvement.
And fourth, just seeing that evolution. How someone completely new can start getting traction by learning, adapting, and following a solid process.
The real aha moment for me, and maybe for you listening too, is seeing that focus on foundational qualities combined with a clear process can actually work.
Right. Rockford seems to prove that you can bring someone into a complex field like roofing sales, even from scratch, if you get the person right and the system right.
It really challenges the idea that you always need prior industry experience.
It does. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. How could applying a similar focus, prioritizing core values, implementing structured onboarding, maybe impact other areas?
Yeah, beyond just sales teams, think about any team building or even your own personal development.
Could identifying those fundamental principles and creating a clear path forward help you succeed, even when you're stepping into something totally new, something to consider?